Hi, I'm Claire and this is my review of Sorcerer to the Crown by Zen Cho. Now this is the original UK hardback edition, but a new UK paperback has recently come out with this gorgeous shiny red foil. This one is mine, but this one here is for a giveaway, so if you want more details on that, make sure to stay around until the end of the video where I will let you know how you can win this. Sorcerer to the Crown is a fantasy of manners that is set in Regency England. We follow our protagonist, Zacharias Wythe, who is the first ever Black Sorcerer Royal. He is in this really high position within the College of Unnatural Philosophers, but he has a lot of issues that go with that. The levels of atmospheric magic in England have been declining for years and years and years, and that's a problem all in itself. But on top of that, most of Zacharias's colleagues are trying to use that issue that long predates him being Sorcerer Royal as an excuse to oust him from his post. They don't like the fact that he's a foreigner, nor the fact that he is a dark-skinned man, but there is also a very nasty rumor that is going around that Zacharias only got the job by murdering his predecessor, Sir Stephen Wythe, who also happened to be his adoptive father, so you can see how that would be a bit of a troubling rumor for him to hear. And you know, there is a tiny matter that someone has been trying to assassinate Zacharias for a while now. In the middle of all of this turmoil, Zacharias decides that it probably would be wise to leave London for a little while, make himself scarce. So he goes to the border with Fairyland to try and figure out what is going on with the decreasing levels of magic, and on his way there he stops at a school for young witches to give a speech there. And there he meets the headmistress's ward, Prunella Gentleman, a young woman who is much too clever and much too magical for her own good. She has this mysterious suitcase that's been left to her by her father, and it is full of strange and rare magical treasures, and she wants to escape the confines of the school and go to London. Of course, Prunella manages to convince Zacharias to take her with him back to London, and they form this unlikely alliance as they try to navigate all of the stuff that is thrown at them in this world where they're not quite welcome, either of them. I always try to be critical and measured in my review and to say the things that I like and the things that I didn't like, but I've got to be honest, I kind of liked everything about this book. I really loved the story, and I can't actually put my finger on any specific complaint that I would have about it. I just want more of this. The first thing that I did when I finished this book was to check whether there was any fanfiction about this on the AO3, and for me that's a sign of something that really grabbed me, because I just want to stay in that world. So if this sounds more like a gush than a review, then so be it. But I have thought about this for a while before filming the review, and I just can't think of a thing that I didn't like about it. This just ticked all of my boxes. To me, the balance between the action, the mystery, the magic, the romance, and the politics was just perfect. The mystery behind Zacharias's magical complaint that ails him throughout the book, I thought was really well managed. It walks this really difficult line where, even though the narrative is in an omniscient point of view, we are in Zacharias's head for a lot of the time, and he clearly knows what's ailing him, but he doesn't want to talk about it. So it could really easily have felt very stilted, like the characters withholding this information from the reader for no reason, but actually to me it worked really well because Zacharias just does not want to talk about it, and we're in an omniscient point of view rather than a very close third person. So somehow it worked. This is something that is a pet peeve of mine and that can really annoy me if I don't feel like it's done well, but I thought it really worked. And also, throughout the book, I couldn't tell what was going on with this magical illness of his, but by the time that it was revealed, there was this really great thing that happens where you figure out what's going on just a few lines before the character says it, and it makes perfect sense, but you couldn't have figured it out beforehand. You just had to have the build-up of the narrative up to that point to get it. I really loved the characters in this book and the relationships that they had with each other. It was extremely nuanced. Zacharias was this extremely honor-driven, duty-bound man who reminded me a lot of Will Lawrence from the Tamara series, which just made me love him a lot. But also, he's kind of conflicted about some of the relationships in his life, about his adoptive family, about his past as well, and the people he meets in his everyday life, and I thought that was really, really interesting. Meanwhile, Prunella kept surprising me in the best possible ways. She is a very smart and capable character, but at the same time you can see that she is very careful. She doesn't let herself be vulnerable in any way, and she can be extremely ruthless when she needs to, but just because of how she's been earlier in the book, when she lets herself be more vulnerable near the end, I found it very impactful. This book also addresses themes of gender and race, because obviously our two main characters are a black man and a mixed-race woman, and they are viewed a certain way by people in this world by virtue of who they are. They are different from most of the population, and they have to deal with the consequences of that. And I found that so very, very interesting, because I have read a lot of books about a girl who has special powers that are normally reserved for men in that society, and she has to go against the patriarchy. And whilst I love those books, I just have read a bunch of them. It felt really interesting and new and fresh to have this point of view from Prunella as a mixed-race woman, and Zacharias as not only a black man but a former slave who had been freed by his adoptive father. And this for me illustrates the more selfish arguments for having diverse characters in our books, in our literature, because yes, I am in favor of having diversity in books, because I think that's the right thing to do, because I think that everybody should be able to see themselves represented in our literature, in our culture, and also because I believe that literature and culture should represent the world around us, and the world around us is full of very different people that are not all like me. But the simple fact is that to me this book was more original and more interesting because the people in it were diverse characters, people of color who had to struggle with things that I've never had to struggle with. And that's forged their characters in different ways that are really, really interesting to read about and that I've not read about before in a Regency novel. So all in all, I really, really loved this book, and I would definitely recommend it. I'm also really happy to say that I'm recording this on the day that the Hugo Awards winners have been announced, and the statistics have come out detailing the nominations and who got a number of nominations but not enough to get on the final ballot. And Sorcerer to the Crown actually got a nice chunk of nominations. It was on the long list for the Hugo Award for Best Novel, and I think that's really well deserved and really well done for a debut novel as well. But onto the giveaway now. If you want to win this shiny, shiny paperback copy of Sorcerer to the Crown, you can check the description box below for a link to the Rafflecopter giveaway. There are some instructions there on how you can enter the giveaway. It's mostly about telling people about the giveaway and telling people about the channel, because that's how it works. And then you can get one or more chances to win this fabulous book. At the end of the giveaway period, the winner will be picked at random by Rafflecopter, and I will email them to ask their address and send them the book. This is an international giveaway. I will send the book to wherever, although obviously it might take a while to get to you if you're very, very far from me. This was my review of Sorcerer to the Crown by Zen Cho. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and please let me know in the comments below if you've read the book, what you thought about it, and if you have any recommendations for any more fantasy of manners, any more alternate history books like this, particularly if they have diverse characters. If you'd like to see more from me, you can check the sidebar right here for more videos. And if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button for new videos from me every week. I've been Claire, thanks so much for watching, and see you soon.